Alara, the smallest princess of the distant planet Zoraya, often felt invisible. The palace walls were tall, gleaming with polished metals and alien crystals, but they also held whispers of judgment. Her older siblings, all tall and strong, trained, each day in combat, diplomacy, and the arts of ruling. Every day the council praised their progress and dismissed her with polite nods. "She is small," they would murmur. "She cannot lead. She cannot fight. She cannot matter." Ilara did not mind the whispers too much. She had learned long ago that strength was not only in the body. Her curiosity was her weapon, and her mind was sharp. While the other princesses sparred in the arena, she wandered through the palace's hidden corridors, exploring libraries that no one else cared to enter. She read ancient scrolls that spoke of civilizations that had risen and fallen, of strategies that saved entire planets, and of inventions that changed the course of history. She also spent time in the gardens, where glowing plants and floating water crystals filled the air with soft light. Here she practiced observation. She noticed patterns in how plants grew, how the light moved across the leaves, and how small animals interacted with one another. No one in the palace paid attention to these things, yet Ilara believed that understanding the world in quiet ways was just as important as mastering combat. Despite her solitude, she often felt a strange excitement when she discovered something new. One day, while examining the energy cores that powered the palace's shields, she noticed a small error, a misalignment that no one else would see. The palace guards, focused on their routines, missed it entirely. Ilara, however, quietly fixed it. Adjusting the core's alignment with careful precision, the shield's energy stabilized and the palace remained protected. Yet when the council came to inspect, they barely noticed. "All is well," they said, glancing at her with mild acknowledgement. They did not realize it was her small hands and keen eyes that had prevented a potential disaster. Ilara did not expect praise. She had learned to find satisfaction in knowing she had helped, even if no one else saw it. But sometimes in the quiet of her room, she wondered if her efforts would ever matter beyond the palace walls. She loved her people, and she dreamed of protecting them, yet the council seemed blind to her potential. Her only companions were the palace robots, small creatures with metal limbs and glowing eyes. They could not speak like humans or aliens, but they responded to her touch and her voice, following her instructions with precise accuracy. She had spent years teaching them to carry out delicate tasks, from repairing broken instruments to tending the smallest gardens. In many ways, they were her friends, loyal and attentive in a world that often ignored her. One evening, as the twin moons of Zoraya rose over the horizon, Ilara climbed to the highest tower of the palace. From there, she could see the vast cities, below, stretching like silver rivers across the land. She watched the people going about their lives, unaware of the dangers that sometimes threatened them. She imagined herself standing among the stars, traveling to distant planets, seeing what others could not. She wondered if there were beings out there, other civilizations, other worlds, who might see her differently. Perhaps they would recognize her intelligence, her patience, and her courage. Perhaps they would see that being small did not mean being weak. These thoughts filled her with hope, even though the council still dismissed her and the other princesses ignored her ideas. Ilara often practiced solving problems in her mind. She created simulations in her head of defending the palace, negotiating with foreign diplomats, and exploring unknown planets. She imagined herself using clever strategies instead of brute force, and often she solved challenges in ways her stronger siblings could not. Still, she knew that without a chance to prove herself, her skills would remain hidden. That night, as the soft light of the moons reflected on her face, Ilara made a silent promise. She would not wait for others to recognize her worth. She would continue to learn, to observe, and to prepare. One day she would have a chance to show the galaxy that even the smallest princess could achieve greatness, and when that day came, she would be ready. Until then, she remained in the shadows, unnoticed but ever watchful, quietly shaping her mind and skills. She knew that patience, intelligence, and courage were just as powerful as strength and size. Somewhere out there, she felt certain, someone would see her true worth. The next morning, the palace was alive with unusual activity. A strange ship had appeared in the sky, hovering above the central city like a silver comet. Its design was unlike anything the Zorians had ever seen. Smooth curves, glowing lights, and a hum that resonated deep in the chest. The council gathered immediately, worried and curious, and the older princesses strutted through the halls, eager to impress with their readiness to face potential threats. Ilara, however, stayed in, the background observing quietly. She had learned long ago that rushing forward did not always show strength. Sometimes strength was in watching and understanding first. From her tower window, she could see the human ship landing near the city plaza. A single figure emerged, tall and confident, carrying no visible weapons, yet radiating an energy that made even the guards pause. Captain Jonah, the human explorer, had traveled far from his home system. His ship had been drawn to Zoraya by unusual energy signals from the planet's shield systems. Humans had long been curious and bold, often venturing into territories other species avoided. Jonah had heard rumors of Zoraya's palace and its advanced energy cores, and he wanted to see them with his own eyes. But more than curiosity, he had a keen sense of people. Even before meeting anyone officially, he sensed something different in the small princess who lingered in the shadows. The council arranged a formal greeting. The elder princesses stepped forward first, showcasing their height, strength, and carefully rehearsed diplomacy. Jonah greeted them politely but seemed distracted, glancing toward Ilara, who had quietly stepped closer out of curiosity. He noticed how she examined the palace's energy barriers, her eyes sharp and calculating. Unlike the others, she did not need to speak loudly to be noticed. Her presence quietly commanded attention. "Who is she?" Jonah asked softly to one of the palace attendants, the smallest one with the bright eyes. "She is Princess Ilara," the attendant replied with a shrug. "But she is not important in council matters. She mostly observes." Jonah's interest only grew. In humans, he thought, often the quietest individuals were the most capable. He had seen many underestimated figures rise to greatness. There was a spark in Ilara's eyes, a spark of curiosity and intelligence that no training or size could hide. Over the next few days, Jonah explored the palace with official guides, but his attention kept returning to Ilara. One afternoon, a minor malfunction occurred in one of the palace's energy nodes. The council panicked, calling for their strongest engineers, but none could quickly find the problem. Without thinking, Ilara approached the node. She knelt beside it, her hands moving with practiced precision. Within moments, the system stabilized, the hum of energy returning to its normal rhythm. Jonah, watching from a distance, could hardly believe it. While the council praised the older princesses for their leadership, it was Ilara who had quietly solved the crisis. He stepped forward, asking her questions about the system, listening carefully to her explanations. She spoke clearly and confidently, describing subtle adjustments and energy flows in terms even he could understand. The council, noticing his interest, frowned. They were used to outsiders praising only the strongest, the tallest, and the loudest. They could not understand why this human, this stranger from another galaxy, was paying attention to a princess they considered insignificant. But Jonah did not care for appearances. He had learned that intelligence, observation, and courage often hid in unexpected places. Ilara, for the first time, felt a small thrill of recognition. Here was someone who saw her abilities, not her size. She felt a spark of hope that perhaps she could matter outside the shadow of her siblings and the council. Jonah's questions and genuine interest encouraged her to explain more, to share insights she had kept hidden for so long. Over the next several days, Jonah observed Ilara tackling small problems throughout the palace. She repaired a broken communications array with careful attention, predicted shifts in energy fields that would have caused minor accidents, and even suggested minor improvements that made palace life smoother. Each time, the council ignored her contributions, but Jonah quietly noted them, impressed by her combination of intelligence, patience, and creativity. One evening, as the twin moons of Zoraya rose, Jonah and Ilara walked together in the palace gardens. The soft glow of alien flowers and floating water crystals bathed them in gentle light. Jonah asked her about her dreams and hopes. She spoke of exploring distant planets, of solving problems no one else dared to face, and of showing the galaxy that small does not mean weak. Jonah listened, smiling. He shared stories of human explorers who had faced impossible odds, relying not on size or strength, but on clever thinking, courage, and teamwork. Ilara realized that humans and Zorians were different, but their values could align. Both valued intelligence, courage, and vision, even if others sometimes overlooked them. That night, Ilara returned to her tower, thinking about the human who had seen her true worth. She felt something she had never felt before, a mixture of excitement and hope. Perhaps this stranger from another galaxy would be the first to help her step out of the shadows, to show her abilities to the world. She knew that if she could continue learning and working alongside someone who recognized her potential, the future might hold opportunities she had never imagined. For the first time, Ilara went to sleep not feeling invisible, but feeling seen, understood, and ready. She did not know what the future would bring, but she felt certain that with curiosity, courage, and the guidance of someone who truly noticed her, she could achieve greatness. The peaceful rhythm of the palace was broken when alarms echoed through the grand halls. The planetary sensors had detected a rogue asteroid heading directly towards Zoria. Panic spread quickly among the council members. They summoned engineers, strategists, and the elder princesses, all confident that they could manage the threat. Yet as the plans unfolded, it became clear that none of the standard procedures could stop the asteroid in time. Ilara watched quietly from the tower window, analyzing the data and calculating angles, speeds, and energy flows. She knew the asteroid could destroy large sections of the city if it collided with the planet's core shields. While others panicked or relied solely on brute force, she began to formulate a plan. Captain Jonah, already impressed with her intelligence, noticed her calm composure. "She's thinking," he whispered to a nearby guard, "not just about the shields, but about every possible outcome." The council, noticing her interest, dismissed it. "She is small," one of the elders said. "She cannot lead this. We must rely on the eldest princesses." The older princesses, confident in their strength and training, began issuing orders loudly, instructing the engineers to increase shield energy and to launch interceptors. However, each suggestion they made either used too much energy or failed to account for the asteroid's unpredictable trajectory. Ilara stepped forward quietly, her eyes scanning the readings on the holographic displays. "The asteroid is rotating," she said softly. "If we increase the shield energy unevenly, we can redirect its path rather than trying to destroy it. The standard interceptors will only fragment it, creating multiple dangers." The council scoffed. "She only observes. Her ideas are untested." Jonah, however, nodded. "She's right. Let her try. Sometimes a quiet mind sees solutions the loudest voices cannot." Reluctantly, the council agreed, allowing Ilara to implement her plan under Jonah's supervision. She assigned tasks based on each engineer's strength, combining them with her precise calculations. Small adjustments to the shields, coordinated energy pulses, and careful positioning of satellites were all part of her strategy. She moved with confidence, speaking calmly and clearly, giving instructions that made sense even to those who doubted. As the asteroid drew closer, tension filled the control room. The elder princesses watched nervously, unsure if her small hands and quiet demeanor could make a difference. Ilara, however, remained focused. She adjusted energy flows, guided the satellites, and predicted the asteroid's movement in real time. Jonah offered guidance but allowed her to lead, recognizing that this was her moment. The asteroid entered the planet's upper atmosphere, glowing from the friction of space. The shield pulses, precisely timed by Ilara, created a force that nudged it gently off course. Rather than smashing into the planet, the asteroid was redirected into a safe orbit, where it would burn up slowly over time. A collective gasp filled the room. Engineers, guards, and even the council members stared in disbelief. The elder princesses could not hide their astonishment, while Jonah smiled proudly. "She did it," he said simply. "She saved the planet." Ilara exhaled, her small hands trembling slightly from the effort, but a sense of calm satisfaction filled her. For the first time, her intelligence and patience had been proven against a true threat. It was not brute strength or loud commands that had saved Zoraya, but careful observation, clever calculations, and strategic thinking. The council, though slow to admit it, praised her efforts. "Your plan worked," one elder said, his voice reluctant but honest. "We underestimated you." Ilara nodded politely. She did not need grand praise. The success itself was reward enough. Yet she noticed the difference in Jonah's eyes. He looked at her with genuine respect, a recognition she had longed for but rarely received. Over the next few days, the palace buzzed with discussion of her plan. Citizens and engineers alike spoke in hushed tones about the small princess who had saved the planet. Her siblings, initially jealous or dismissive, began to realize that her mind could achieve what their strength alone could not. Ilara, however, remained humble. She continued her quiet observations, improving systems and studying ways to make the palace safer. She worked with Jonah to analyze the asteroid's path and predict future cosmic threats. Together, they began developing strategies that combined human ingenuity with Zorayan technology, creating solutions that no one species could have imagined, alone. That night, Ilara returned to her tower, her eyes scanning the stars. She thought of all the worlds out there, filled with dangers and mysteries waiting to be understood. She realized that strength was not only in size or combat skills, it was in intelligence, courage, and the ability to act calmly when others panic. Captain Jonah visited her there, carrying a small holographic tablet displaying star charts from nearby systems. "The galaxy is bigger than you think," he said, "and it's full of challenges. But I believe you can face them. You have the mind, the courage, and the patience to solve problems that others cannot even see." Ilara smiled softly. For the first time, she felt that someone truly understood her. Not only had she proven her worth to the council and her people, but she had also found a partner who valued her abilities and believed in her potential. The asteroid crisis had been the first real test of her skills. It was also the beginning of a new chapter, one where she would step out of the shadows and begin to show the galaxy what a small princess could achieve when she was seen for who she truly was. And as she looked up at the stars, she knew that this was only the start. There were larger threats, greater mysteries, and new worlds waiting for her intelligence, patience, and courage. With Jonah by her side, she felt ready for whatever came next. After the asteroid crisis, the atmosphere in the palace changed. Whispers spread among the council and palace staff about the small princess who had saved Zoraya. Even though some elders remained reluctant to fully accept her talent, it was clear that Ilara had proven herself. Captain Jonah, however, did not see her as someone needing recognition. He saw her as a true partner. Together, they began exploring new ways to prepare the planet and its people for challenges beyond what anyone had imagined. Ilara and Jonah spent long hours in the palace control room. She explained the inner workings of Zorayan energy systems, while he shared human techniques for problem-solving and teamwork. Humans, he explained, often relied on adaptability and creativity, not just raw power. Ilara was fascinated. She had grown up in a culture that valued strength above subtlety, yet here was someone showing her that cleverness and flexibility could achieve even greater results. They ran simulations of potential cosmic threats. Some were natural, like comets and radiation storms, while others were artificial, testing defenses against aggressive species. Ilara would quietly suggest subtle changes, slight adjustments to energy flows, minor calibrations to shield emitters, or even creative strategies for diplomacy. Jonah watched her work, impressed by how quickly she understood patterns and predicted outcomes. He often said, "You see the whole picture even when others focus on pieces." The more time they spent together, the more the palace began to notice their teamwork. Engineers began asking Ilara questions they once ignored. Some of the elder princesses, though hesitant, began observing her methods, realizing that her intelligence was not just useful but extraordinary. It was a slow change, but the seeds of respect were planted. One day, While studying the shield networks, Ilara noticed an unusual energy fluctuation. The council initially dismissed it as a minor anomaly. "It will stabilize," they said, "no need to worry." But Ilara's instincts told her otherwise. She ran calculations and simulations and discovered that if the anomaly continued, it could weaken the planet's defenses at a critical moment. Jonah encouraged her to present her findings to the council. She did so carefully, explaining the problem and suggesting a series of small but precise adjustments. At first, the council was reluctant, but when they saw the logic of her plan, they allowed her to implement it. Within hours, the fluctuation was corrected, stabilizing the shields and preventing potential danger. Once again, her quiet intellect and attention to detail saved the day. Ilara began training a small team of engineers and young scholars in her methods. She emphasized observation, patience, and creative thinking. She showed them that leadership did not always mean giving loud orders or demonstrating strength. It could also mean guiding others thoughtfully, making careful decisions, and inspiring confidence through skill and knowledge. Jonah supported her, sharing stories of humans who achieved great things without relying on size or power. Their partnership extended beyond technical problems. Jonah taught Ilara ways to adapt quickly when unexpected events occurred, showing her how to remain calm even when everything seemed chaotic. Ilara, in turn, taught him the value of careful observation and subtle strategy, explaining how sometimes the smallest details could change the outcome of even the largest events. Together, they combined human creativity with Zorian precision, creating a system of problem-solving more powerful than either could achieve alone. The palace staff began to change their attitude toward Ilara. They observed her methods and started applying her strategies in daily tasks. Even some of the elder princesses began acknowledging her ideas in quiet conversations, no longer dismissing her as too small or inexperienced. People realized that strength could take many forms, and intelligence, patience, and cleverness were equally valuable. One evening, as Ilara walked with Jonah in the palace gardens, they discussed the future. "There will be challenges that we cannot even imagine," Jonah said, "but I believe that together we can face them." Ilara nodded. "I have always wanted to protect my people, but now I see that there are many ways to do it. We do not always need to fight with strength alone. We can solve problems, prevent dangers, and guide others with thought and strategy." Jonah smiled. "And you will not be alone. You have proven yourself already, and others will follow when they see your example." That night, Ilara returned to her tower with renewed determination. The small princess who once felt invisible now understood the power of partnership and the value of seeing possibilities that others ignored. She knew that the galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but with human ingenuity and her own intelligence, she could face whatever came next. Ilara realized that being underestimated had given her an advantage. While others relied on strength and tradition, she had honed her mind, learned to adapt, and discovered that courage and intelligence often mattered more than size or status. And with Jonah by her side, she began to feel that nothing was impossible. The palace no longer seemed like a cage. It was a place of preparation, learning, and growth. Every corner she explored, every energy fluctuation she studied, and every strategy she devised brought her closer to the future she imagined. A future where even the smallest princess could shape the destiny of an entire world. Peace on Zoria did not last long. Scouts reported a massive fleet of warlike aliens approaching from a neighboring star system. They were known for conquering planets quickly, leaving little chance for negotiation or retreat. Panic spread through the council. The elder princesses immediately called for military mobilization, confident that brute force would be enough. However, Captain Jonah and Ilara knew that the enemy was unlike any threat the planet had faced before. Conventional strategies would fail. Ilara spent hours studying the alien fleet's trajectory and analyzing patterns in their attacks. She noticed that while the enemy relied heavily on size, firepower, and intimidation, they rarely adapted quickly to unexpected strategies. Small, unpredictable actions could create openings that brute force could not anticipate. She shared her observations with Jonah, who immediately understood the potential. "This is exactly what humans are good at," he said. "We use creativity, and adaptability when strength alone is not enough. The council, though hesitant, allowed Alara to propose a plan. She suggested a mix of defensive maneuvers and clever distractions. Instead of confronting the fleet head-on, they would use stealth satellites to mislead the enemy sensors, redirect energy pulses to create temporary blind spots, and deploy fast response drones to target critical points. Her approach relied on careful timing, coordination, and unconventional thinking rather than sheer force. Many of the elder princesses doubted her strategy. "It is too risky," one said. "We should rely on our armies and shields. That is what leaders do." Alara remained calm. She explained, step by step, why her plan had a higher chance of success. Jonah supported her, demonstrating how humans had defeated larger enemies by anticipating actions and thinking creatively. Slowly, the council agreed to give her plan a chance, though they continued to watch with skepticism. Alara and Jonah worked tirelessly with a small team of engineers, soldiers, and young strategists she had trained. They coordinated every step, ensuring that the satellites, drones, and energy shields worked in perfect harmony. Alara's keen observation allowed her to notice even the smallest potential errors, correcting them before they could cause problems. Jonah provided guidance and adaptability, encouraging the team to respond quickly to any unexpected movements from the alien fleet. When the alien fleet arrived, the battle began. Massive ships fired energy beams and missiles, but Alara's plan unfolded flawlessly. The stealth satellites created illusions that confused enemy sensors, causing some ships to miscalculate their attacks. Energy pulses disrupted targeting systems, while drones attacked key engines, slowing the fleet without direct confrontation. Every move was calculated, every action carefully timed. The elder princesses watched in astonishment. Their armies, which had prepared for a straightforward battle, were surprised by how effective the unconventional strategy was. Alara, small and quiet as ever, directed operations with calm precision. Her voice guided the team, her eyes constantly scanning for anomalies, and her mind anticipated each enemy movement. Jonah observed proudly. "She is incredible," he said. "She sees what others cannot. She turns her size and quiet nature into an advantage. The enemy does not know who they are dealing with." Hours passed, and the alien fleet, frustrated by the unexpected tactics, began to retreat. Ships that once seemed unstoppable were now struggling to regroup. Alara's strategies had outsmarted them, not with brute force, but with intelligence, observation, and careful planning. The planet and its people were safe once again, and the invading force had been humiliated, their reputation for invincibility challenged by a small princess and a human explorer. The council finally acknowledged her achievements. Even those who had doubted her spoke with respect. "You have saved us again," an elder admitted. "Your mind is a weapon stronger than any army." Alara accepted their praise modestly, knowing that the real reward was seeing her strategies succeed and her people safe. The victory changed perceptions across the palace. Engineers and scholars now sought her guidance. Younger princesses looked up to her as a role model, and even the elder princesses began to learn from her approach. She was no longer invisible. She had become a leader whose intelligence and courage inspired others. Alara spent the following days analyzing the retreating fleet and planning future defenses. She knew that the galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers, and that relying solely on strength would not be enough. With Jonah's support, she began training a mixed team of humans and Zorians to think creatively, act with precision, and adapt to any challenge. Together, they were preparing for a future where the smallest princess could shape the fate of entire worlds. That night, as the twin moons cast a silver glow over the palace, Alara stood on her tower balcony with Jonah. "The galaxy is bigger and more dangerous than I imagined," she said. Jonah nodded. "And it needs minds like yours. Strength is valuable, but intelligence, patience, and courage can do even more." Alara smiled. For the first time, she felt fully confident in her abilities. She knew the challenges ahead would be greater, but she also knew that she was no longer alone. With human ingenuity and her own cleverness, she could face anything. And with every challenge she overcame, she would continue to prove that even the smallest princess could change the galaxy. Word of Alara's brilliant strategies spread quickly across Zoraya, and even reached nearby star systems. Stories circulated about the small princess who had saved her planet not once, but twice, with intelligence, patience, and courage. Citizens, who once ignored her, began to look up to her, inspired by the idea that size or appearance did not determine value. The council, though still slow to fully embrace change, began to see that leadership could take many forms. Ilara continued her work with Captain Jonah, strengthening the planet's defenses and training teams in strategic thinking. They organized drills, simulations, and exercises designed to prepare the people for threats far greater than any they had encountered before. Jonah introduced human concepts of adaptability and collaboration, showing how even a small group could achieve remarkable results if everyone's skills were used effectively. Ilara also focused on diplomacy. She began sending communications to nearby planets and systems, establishing alliances and sharing knowledge about energy shield technology. She realized that intelligence and foresight could prevent conflicts before they began, and that collaboration could be as powerful as combat. Humans and Zorayans worked side by side, sharing insights and learning from each other. During one diplomatic meeting, a neighboring system expressed concern about the recent attacks from warlike aliens. Ilara proposed a joint defense strategy that combined human flexibility with Zorayan technology. The leaders were impressed by her detailed plans and the clear understanding she demonstrated of multiple species' strengths and weaknesses. "Your vision goes beyond your planet," one diplomat said. "You are thinking as a leader for the galaxy." Even the elder princesses could no longer ignore her talents. They began attending her strategy sessions, learning from her methods, and occasionally offering their own ideas. Some of them admitted quietly that they had underestimated her. The palace environment was changing. Respect and collaboration were replacing doubt and dismissal, and Ilara's quiet confidence became a guiding influence for everyone around her. One evening, Jonah and Ilara reviewed the data from the latest simulations. A potential threat, a rogue fleet of scavenger ships, was moving through a nearby system, and Ilara had already devised a plan to protect both Zoraya and neighboring planets. She outlined a strategy that involved rapid communication, coordinated defenses, and clever use of the environment to mislead the enemy. Jonah listened closely, impressed by the precision and creativity in her thinking. "You've come a long way from the small princess who wandered the palace alone," Jonah said with a smile. "You've become a leader, someone who inspires others to do their best." Ilara nodded, a mixture of pride and humility on her face. She remembered the years of being ignored, of learning quietly in the shadows. That time had taught her patience, observation, and careful planning. Now, those qualities were being recognized not just by humans but by her own people and the wider galaxy. When the rogue fleet arrived, the combined forces of Zoraya and its allies executed Ilara's plan flawlessly. The fleet was diverted, confused, and unable to achieve its objective. Citizens across several planets watched in awe as the small princess coordinated a defense that no one thought possible. Once again, her intelligence and calm leadership had prevented disaster, proving that courage and creativity were as powerful as weapons and armies. The success cemented Ilara's reputation. She was celebrated not only as a savior, but as a visionary leader. Jonah publicly acknowledged her role in the victory, praising her intelligence, foresight, and ability to inspire teamwork across different species. The people of Zoraya, who had once dismissed her, now viewed her as a symbol of hope, resilience, and the potential within every individual, no matter their size or background. Ilara herself remained grounded. She did not seek praise for its own sake. Her satisfaction came from knowing that her ideas worked, that her people were safe, and that cooperation between humans and Zorayans was stronger than ever. She continued to teach, guide, and plan, always looking for ways to improve defenses and build alliances. As she stood on her tower balcony one evening, gazing at the stars with Jonah beside her, she felt a deep sense of purpose. "The galaxy is vast," she said softly, "and full of challenges. But I no longer feel small or invisible. I have learned that courage, intelligence, and patience can make a difference." Jonah nodded. "And you've shown everyone that size does not define strength. You've inspired humans and Zorians alike. The galaxy needs leaders like you." Alara smiled, her heart filled with hope. She realized that her journey was far from over, but she had grown into a leader capable of facing any challenge. With her mind sharp, her courage strong, and her partnership solid, she was ready to continue shaping the future of Zoria and the galaxy. For the first time, the small princess felt truly seen, not because of her size, but because of her abilities, her vision, and her unwavering determination. And she knew that whatever threats lay ahead, she would meet them with intelligence, strategy, and courage, proving that even the smallest voice could echo across the stars. The galaxy had begun to notice Zoria in a new way. Once considered just another small planet, it was now seen as a beacon of intelligence, strategy, and cooperation. At the center of this transformation was Ilara, the small princess who had quietly proven that courage and intelligence mattered more than size or strength. Her reputation extended beyond her own people. Humans and alien allies alike respected her vision and insight. Ilara spent her days coordinating with neighboring planets, establishing alliances, and training leaders to think creatively in the face of threats. She often met with scholars, engineers, and diplomats from various systems, sharing her methods for problem-solving, resource management, and defensive strategy. Each session strengthened not only Zoria's position but also the bonds between species. Humans, impressed by her intelligence, worked alongside Zorians to implement joint projects, combining ingenuity with advanced technology. Captain Jonah remained her close partner, offering guidance and encouragement, yet always letting Ilara lead. He had witnessed her growth from a quiet observer to a confident strategist, and he admired how naturally she inspired loyalty and respect. Together, they had created a system of cooperation that showed the galaxy the power of unity and the value of recognizing every individual's potential. One morning, news arrived of a new threat. An alien species was expanding aggressively, consuming resources and conquering smaller worlds. Many nearby systems panicked, unsure of how to defend themselves. The council called an emergency meeting, and this time, there was no hesitation to turn to Ilara for leadership. Her strategies had earned her authority, and her calm intelligence reassured everyone that a solution was possible. Ilara carefully studied the situation, analyzing fleet movements, energy reserves, and environmental hazards. She formulated a plan that combined diplomacy, strategic defense, and calculated risk. She proposed using decoys and diversion tactics to slow the enemy, while organizing fast response teams to protect vulnerable planets. Her approach emphasized intelligence and precision over brute force, and she coordinated communication channels between human allies and Zorian fleets to maximize efficiency. The Council, now fully aware of her capabilities, deferred entirely to her judgment. The elder princesses, once dismissive, now actively supported her initiatives, following her lead and learning from her methods. Citizens and soldiers alike watched in awe as Ilara orchestrated a complex operation that no one had thought possible. The conflict unfolded. Ilara remained calm and composed, her mind constantly adjusting to new developments. She predicted enemy maneuvers before they happened, coordinated counteractions, and encouraged adaptability among her team. Captain Jonah assisted where needed, providing insight from human tactics and helping bridge communication between allied forces. The enemy, expecting a straightforward confrontation, was caught off guard by Ilara's subtle strategies and clever coordination. By the end of the operation, the invading forces had been redirected away from inhabited systems, suffering setbacks and confusion without a single catastrophic loss on the defended planets. The galaxy's leaders celebrated the success, acknowledging that it had been Ilara's leadership and insight that had prevented disaster. She had not only protected her own world, but had inspired cooperation and trust among multiple species. With the immediate danger over, Ilara focused on building a lasting legacy. She encouraged education, strategic thinking, and diplomacy throughout Zoria and allied systems. Schools and academies began teaching her methods, emphasizing creativity, observation, and teamwork over traditional measures of strength. Humans and Zorians worked side by side, learning from one another and preparing for a future where intelligence and collaboration were valued above all. Ilara's siblings, once dismissive, now admired her openly. They recognized that her quiet, patience, careful observation, and courage had not only saved lives but also reshaped their world. Even the council, slow to change, publicly honored her achievements, acknowledging that leadership could take many forms. One evening, as the twin moons of Zoria bathed the palace in silver light, Ilara stood on her tower balcony with Jonah beside her. They watched ships from allied planets moving through the skies, ready to respond to threats together. "The galaxy is vast and full of challenges," Ilara said, her voice calm yet confident. "But I have learned that courage, intelligence, and patience can overcome even the greatest dangers." Jonah smiled. "And you've shown everyone that greatness is not measured by size or appearance. You've inspired humans, Zorians, and many others. You've created a new era." Ilara looked down at her people, seeing the hope and admiration in their eyes. She realized that her journey, from the small, overlooked princess wandering the Lao palace halls to a galaxy-recognized leader, had been about more than proving herself. It was about showing the universe that every individual had worth, that intelligence and courage mattered, and that unity could achieve what strength alone could not. As stars twinkled above, Ilara made a silent promise: to continue guiding, teaching, and protecting, not for recognition but because she believed in the potential of every being. The galaxy, once vast and indifferent, now seemed full of possibility, and she knew she would continue shaping its future. For the first time, Ilara understood the truth she had always hoped for. Even the smallest voice, when recognized and valued, could echo across the stars, changing worlds and inspiring generations. And with Captain Jonah and the allies she had inspired, she felt ready for any challenge that lay ahead, confident that intelligence, courage, and determination would always light the way.